Welcome to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the apocalypse engine. I'm your MC, Rich, and I'm joined by my guest, Max Hervieux of the Logbook project. How are you doing, Max?
Pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Great, welcome to the show. Now, I gotta lead off, how long have you been playing PBTA games, and what was your gateway?
I've been playing since about the beginning of 2012.
Okay, wow, alright.
With Apocalypse World itself.
Apocalypse World, so did you run first, or did you play first?
I did run it first, very briefly, but I only did that a couple of times, and then I went through a long period where I just played Powered by the Apocalypse games.
What was your favorite playbook? Do you have one?
In Apocalypse World itself, I've always been really fond of the Quarantine, actually.
Nice, and that made it into second edition.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see it there.
All right, well, you want to jump in and read a Sitch?
Sure.
Read a Sitch. So, Max, when you're running Legend of the Elements, I understand that sometimes there's a bit of an issue between fighting, somebody that's actually like a named villain versus a lesser foe or a mook.
Yeah.
What'd you talk about that? How do you run into that problem when you're running the game?
This is a major thing that people bump up to right away, usually right after they read the basic moves themselves. Especially, one of the basic moves is called Commit Open Violence. And when you commit open violence on a success, you get to name how badly you hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
With various enemies, that could be as easy as saying they are dead in one stroke. Because it's player-controlled, people bump up against, well, how do I keep that from just knocking off the big bad guy in one shot?
Right.
It makes sense when you're taking down just regular guys, but if you're coming up against someone who, in theory, should be able to take more than just your one punch, then it seems like it might break down after that. And I did try to treat that with the rules. The two main ways that I advise handling it are, first, through fictional positioning, that ultimately whatever tags you're applying with, like, say, commit open violence, need to follow from the fiction still. If you are committing open violence against this armored knight guy with your super fist action power, maybe you can't give him the dead tag. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to just do that from a fictional perspective.
Right.
But you would be able to, like, say, daze them, or you could even cause them real harm, just it would be less likely that you'd be able to do that much, and the MC has some level of approval for that.
Now, could there be like combat masters who have multiple tag slots that they could be filled with?
That's what a lot of people asked for at first, was the idea that villains should need a certain number of tags, and I never really liked that. Even it was an alternate version of the rules that I tried for a little bit, but I never felt really comfortable with it. I did come up with a similar solution. Like most Powered by the Apocalypse games, if you have these named threats in your fronts and stuff, you can give them custom moves. And the big one I came up with for basically making a bad guy more resilient is to give them their own pool of fortune, which is a mechanic in the game that players have that when they spend it, they get to ignore a tag they were just given. And so this gives, if you make a custom move that, oh yeah, this bad guy has 2 fortune total, then they have a bit of resilience that you can pop out as a surprise all of a sudden. And it turns out that this guy is actually even tougher than you thought, and they're much harder to take down. And yet it's done in a low enough way that it still feels like you're not just nullifying what the players are doing.
Gotcha. So instead of saying, hey, they have a certain number of tags, you can utilize a custom move with fortune. So you're still working within the system. That's interesting.
Exactly. And of course, custom moves can do all sorts of crazy things if you really want them to. But that's kind of the main way to make it simply... That's the simple difference between playing with a mook and a master.
All right, well, we've already started a little talk about Legend of the Elements.
Yeah.
You mind if we open our brains up to this game and talk a little bit more in detail?
Absolutely.
Open your brain. Okay, Legend of the Elements. Tell me about this PBTA game. What is the setting? What's the elevator pitch for Legend of the Elements?
Legend of the Elements is a game of elemental magic, kung fu, wuxia action, heavily inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender, and its sequel show Legend of Korra, and other wuxia fiction. That means it takes place in a sort of pan-Asian fantastical setting that's it's not quite like actual Asia, but at the same time has all those cultural elements kind of blended together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's actually been a long-time staple of the wuxia genre. Most wuxia fiction takes place within this non-real version of the Asian countries in which the wuxia was developed.
Gotcha.
So you might come across, like, buildings that look kind of like Japanese architecture, and then move a bit over, and you'd see, like, characters that look Chinese, or all sorts of different things kind of just blended together.
Now, what are the mechanics that are different in this game versus Apocalypse World, and how did you try to use it to make Legend of the Elements, kind of make that Avatar style or the wuxia style stand out?
The big two changes were the chakras and the tags, and a chi mechanic that kind of flows between the two. The chakras are kind of personality descriptors that are on each of the playbooks. On the front of each playbook, there are a list of 4 pairs of chakras that you take each one as a pair.
Mm-hmm.
And when you play to that character type in a way that gets either you or your friends into trouble, or causes tension between you and your friends, you get a point of chi, which mostly acts like experience.
Okay.
And so the reasoning behind that was that this is a way to make the game largely cooperative while still adding in that element of tension. Because that's something that I struggled with for a bit in trying to model the show, is because unlike a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, the show is very cooperative. These people are friends, first and foremost. They aren't ever going to outright fight each other.
Right.
They'll get into little tiffs, but they're always allied with each other. And so the chakra mechanic gives a reason for you to behave in a way that causes tension or get you into trouble, but still, ultimately, you're friendly with each other.
I notice with the tags for harm.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. So the harm is descriptive, but there's still a certain number of circles. Like, a certain amount of harm, right?
Sort of, yeah. The tag diagram, so your harm clock, basically, is split into 3 sections: mild, moderate, and severe. When you would be given a tag, the MC or whoever, or another player, whoever is giving you that tag, can at most give you a tag in the lowest unfilled category. So if you have no tags, you can only receive a mild tag. If you already have a mild and a moderate, then you could be given a severe tag. And there isn't like a bank of tags to work from. You're making these things up to match to it. And so you can rapidly climb up to getting severe tags, but at the same time you can't start off with getting like an arm cut off or anything like that. It's got to start off fairly mild. On the other hand, in the other direction, when the players apply tags to MC characters, there is no such restriction. Players can jump all the way ahead as long as it makes sense in the fiction.
Right. So you're saying these tags are the harm. They have to go up one circle at a time. Could you hit someone with a social attack of some kind that would do harm to them?
Absolutely. Social attacks or getting positioning on them are absolutely viable. The main talking moves, Speak Honorably, has the option to give tags to people. Move with Intention, which is about getting a better position on people, can put a tag on someone who you've gotten an advantage on. And so, in some ways, it's less of a harm clock, and I guess more like a stress track in some ways. That it doesn't only limit itself to physical things.
Was fate an influencer in how you approach this? Because I feel a little bit of that technology here.
Yep.
Is that right?
I would say so. It was not a conscious thing going in, but on looking back and reviewing the mechanic, I would definitely agree, especially with how the chi interacts with it as well. So the chi that you gain through causing trouble for you and your friends, or by failing rolls as well, acts as XP in one way, but it has another use. And that's that when you make a move against anything, and you are taking advantage of a tag, after you see the result of the roll, you could spend that point of chi to bump up to the next success category. So, like, if you rolled a 6 or less, you could jump it up to a 7 or to a 7 to 9. Regardless of, you could roll snake eyes on the dice and call it a 7 to 9.
Ooh, neat. And
doing so brings the chi to the MC instead of to just back into the the nebulous ether, and they'll use that to power their plots, or their fronts, basically. By doing that, it models that the more the characters are struggling and the more they're desperate to get the things they want, the faster the plot progresses. So it controls the pacing.
Right, but if they ace all their rolls, or if they don't care if they fail, then as a MC, if I need the chi to advance my plot, can I still move forward?
Largely, you won't have the control given by... You won't have that same amount of control over saying, yes, these things are going to happen. If they naturally are happening through the plot anyway, the plots will advance, but you don't have the control to push it forward unless players are failing and giving you the chi. And I mean, that kind of makes sense to me, both from a pacing sense and from a gameplay sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to be pushing the fronts forward if the players are actually succeeding on what they're doing. And also, if they're doing a lot of succeeding, you don't need to push the plot forward. There's more to be done in this before the plot moves on. Because that's something that is usually built into the act structure within wuxia, especially like Avatar, is that things move forward when the characters are struggling.
Right.
Character struggle prompts new events to happen for things to change.
I gotta know, Max, there are a lot of really cool moves. Whenever people look at these playbooks, there's a lot of oohs and ahs, but what's your favorite move and why?
It's a toss-up between two. One of them is a move from the Fire Shaper, called Hot-Headed. And the text for that one is, when you're treated disrespectfully and respond by acting dishonorably, which is a basic move, you add +1 to your roll. If you respond by committing open violence, you gain 1 chi instead. And so this is a move that it kind of marries that narrative, that mechanical incentive to a narrative archetype that really matches what the Fire Shaper's personality type is. And it's just an elegant little idea. I wrote this on the very first draft of the game. Like, this is a move that hasn't changed since I first wrote the first batch of moves.
Nice.
And honestly, like, I'm happy enough with it to the point that, like, I started worrying, wait, did I take this from something else and not realize it? I play a lot of Monster Hearts, and I could see this fitting in Monster Hearts. Oops, but no, I don't seem to have.
Nice.
The other move that might be my favorite is Meditate, which is one of the basic moves.
Okay.
And Meditate is kind of a spin on other games is like Open Your Brain to the Psychic Maelstrom or Gaze into the Abyss, which are traditionally moves that you roll to gain information about things that you may not otherwise be able to get. There are opportunities to just introduce something whole cloth to push things in a new direction. Usually those are very MC-facing.
Right.
You roll them, and then the MC tells you stuff. As an MC, I always found that frustrating, because, like, that's a lot of stress. That's pressuring. I find it pretty tough.
Right.
And with Meditate, the way it works is when you spend time in uninterrupted contemplation over something, you roll plus natural, which is the same stat you use for talking to people politely. And on a 7 to 9... the MC will tell you a detail about whatever thing you were contemplating. On a 10 or greater, you get to declare the detail. So it puts some of the control back in the player's realm.
Ah, cool. I bet you've seen some pretty crazy meditation results on the 10 plus, huh?
Yeah. And it's always interesting to see what people actually want to have added in.
Very cool. Okay. I have run Legend of the Elements a few times, but I've never gotten to actually play it. Could we possibly act Under Fire here and you run this game for me for a little bit, Max?
I sure can.
Yes. It is time to act Under Fire. Okay, Max. I would like to play Plussatar.
Yeah?
I thought about this really hard, and Plussy, I think, as the Plussatar is where I want to go with this. I think he is maybe a Fire Shaper. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, Fire Shaper sounds good. I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think like a cool idea for a quick run of this would be to do a thing with combat, because that's I think where you can see a lot of the mechanics for the game shine.
Okay.
Is in how combat works, and so I was thinking one element of the show that of Avatar that always was really flashy and fun was the fire duels, the Agni Kais that occasionally happened. Big climactic duels between two Fire Shapers.
That sounds awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah. You've gotten... Oh, real quick, we should establish what your stats are.
Oh, well, you can give me what stats you've won. Often +1 forward, we have +1s.
Yeah. Sure, I'll just pick that one. Natural -1, hot +2, solid +1, keen +1, fluid +0. And that's the top stat array on the Fire Shaper.
Yep, I see it. All right, so that means Plussatar, like all Fire Shapers, very good on hot.
Yep.
But hot in this game doesn't mean like sexy or really attractive, right? It's
no,
different.
No. Unlike Monster Hearts and Apocalypse Worlds is hot, Legend of the Elements is hot is about being passionate and volatile and aggressive.
All right, I've got my stats. I'm ready to go.
Excellent. We come in on the scene from above. We see a ring of people grouped around in long robes, red, adorned with gold trim. They stand around a makeshift arena. It's been carved in the dirt. The edges of the ring are charred into the ground, as if many fires have been placed there over time. Standing on one side of the ring is an older-looking fellow, but as he shrugs off his robe, he's well-muscled. He doesn't look like he's lost his step in his advancing age. His name is Hojin. He's not a very great guy. The rumors about him have been circulating for years. He's committed some crimes recently, but his proficiency in the fire-shaping ways have always protected him. Others aren't willing to challenge him, but his latest offense is too much. You have been championed to defeat him in this fire duel and restore the honor of your clan.
All right.
He stands across and he calls out to you. Well, are we going to get started? As he starts to pace back around you a little bit, circling you, he sets into a basic stance. What do you do?
I remove my robes as well, and, well, I don't have nearly the mass that he does. There's a good amount of definition on Plussatar. My head is shaven, and I have several flame tattoos along my bald head.
Nice.
I peer at Hojin and I say, the offenses you have brought to our clan must be answered, and that is why we are here. And yes, we are going to do this. I'm going to defeat you, Hojin, and then you will never bother us again. Give me your word, and then we will fight.
And he stares back at you for a moment. He makes a dismissive noise as he does not bother to give you a response and immediately starts charging toward you. You can see the fire running in his fingertips. What do you do?
Well, I'm going to meet intention with action. I'm going to charge forward towards him, and I'm going to shape some fire in my own fist.
Sure. Would you say that you're actually doing this? Are you actually unleashing the attack at this point, or are you just getting ready and preparing? Getting ready to see where this is going, and...
That's true. He might be trying to feint me into overcommitting. I'll stand in defense. I'm gonna wait and see what his actual attack is.
But you are, preparing together?
Yes.
Getting ready
yes,
to? Then I would call that move with intention.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm trying to gain... I'm going to move with intention then.
You're trying to move to a position of advantage, which move with intention can definitely mean subtle motion, like settling into a careful stance. That's absolutely a position of advantage, even if it's not a lot of, really dynamic movement.
I see. Okay. Move with intention is rolling plus fluid, which for me is a 0. So here we go. 2d6.
Yep.
I've rolled an 8. All right. I get to choose one of the options. I can add a +1 to my next roll, add an environment tag to the scene, which I could then
take advantage of to spend your chi. And I will say, for purposes of this demo, we'll say you started with 1 chi.
Thank you.
Because it's always fun to have it around.
And I could place a tag on him, or I could be safe from imminent attack. I'm going to place a +1 on my next roll.
All right.
In fact, I've got a +1 forward.
You sure do. It was good to be cautious, but it was no feint. He charges forward and he unleashes a wave of fire. He's within a striking distance of you at this point, but the flames are pouring out from him. You know that if you stay here for any longer, the flames will wash over you. What do you do?
Ooh. Can I shape those flames? Like, can I control the flames when he throws them over me?
Absolutely, yeah. When you manipulate open flame to attack, if you want to return them back to him.
Oh, that would be the best. So when he sends those flames forward, I want to effectively reach my hands out towards them and then pull them in an arc and send them right back to him. That's my intent.
Yep.
Okay, I have to roll plus hot, which is a +2. I used a +2, so this is exciting.
And it'll be +3 with your +1 forward.
Yes, right! Oh man, this is going to be great! Okay, let's see how it goes. I'm going to roll Snake Eyes right here. I'm calling it. Wrong! Oh,
Boxcars!
Boxcars! Oh man! That is amazing. Okay.
A perfect roll.
Yes!
Yeah, in that case, yeah, it does what you want. You tag targets as appropriate. So, as his yellow fire spreads from his hands and forms into a wave around you, you take control of it. What are you doing with it to him?
I bring it in a full and perfect circle, up in a wide arc around my whole body, and then I turn with that motion and I force it towards him, and I let the same flames that he sent at me wash over him. Let's see how he likes it. Singe his hair and his clothes.
What do you want to tag him with?
Tag him with singed.
Yeah, absolutely. He is singed. And remember now, when you take advantage of the fact that he is singed, you'll be able to spend your chi to improve move results.
Okay, fantastic.
The flames wash over him. The edge, you can see the scorch marks on his skin. You can see the little fires lit on the end of the hairs of his beard.
Ha!
His eyes narrow as he takes a few steps back. Perhaps I underestimated you, but it won't happen again. What was your name again?
Plussatar.
Plussatar. I've not heard of you.
I fall into a stance and I do the one fist forward, 2 fingers, and I crook my fingers and I gesture. Come on, enough talking.
And he smiles, and he looks at you and continues to circle, and he doesn't seem to be taking the bait. He's returned to circling, waiting for an opening. You have a moment of reprieve here to do as you desire. You have the initiative. What are you going to do with it?
He seems to be respecting me now. We will see if I can gain advantage. I'd like to try to move in a position for quick strikes. I want to move in closer for him. I'm moving, if the fiction feels right. I'd like to move with intention, try to gain some advantage.
It does. It feels right.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to roll 2d6 and with a +0.
Yep.
And that is an 8. Fantastic.
Once again.
I think I would like to be safe from imminent attack.
Yeah.
I want to be able to block his next attacks.
And that's exactly what you do as you move forward aggressively. He seems to be caught off guard by your sudden aggression after being so defensive before. In response, he attempts to come at you and make several swings with his muscled arms, but his age betrays him. Ultimately, it's fairly easy to be shrugging off these hits. You are well trained. And as he's making small hits against you, you see openings. You could keep watching, see what's going on. You could speak to him. You could go for a full attack. It's up to Plussatar.
I think I'm going to go for a full attack. I think that I've understood his weaknesses and I want to take advantage of them.
That's a good plan. Then commit open violence.
All right. So instead of fire shaping, I'm just committing open violence. I'm going to strike out to injure him, right?
Yeah, it depends on how you could do this with fire shaping if you so desired.
Right.
But it's up to you.
No, I'm in close, and I don't want anything to go awry.
Yeah.
And
makes sense.
The best fire shapers sometimes still burn everything down. So
yeah.
Here we go. That is 5 plus 2 is a 7 because I'm rolling hot.
It's your good stat.
Squeak.
All right.
Thank goodness.
So on a 7, 8, or 9, you choose one of the following options. You don't tag them. You're left in a disadvantageous position. or you're left open to their counterattack.
Ooh.
And for reference, disadvantageous position means a position that you are ill-prepared to proceed from offensively, whereas counterattack leaves you open defensively. And that's kind of what the distinction is between the two.
Okay, cool. I think I'll be open to counterattack. I want to actually see how bad he could hurt me.
Yeah.
Bring it.
But before he manages that, you do get to tag him.
Sweet. I am going to tag him with... I want to disable one of his arms. Like a couple of point strikes along his shoulder that make his arm disabled. So effectively crippled?
Yeah.
Is that a fair tag?
You could even just say disabled arm if you wanted.
Awesome. Disabled arm. There we go.
Yeah, and his arm falls limp as he, you see his eyes go wide in shock, but in moving your arms to properly hit those spots, you turned your body, and his other fist is coming for you. He crashes against you. He doesn't actually just try to punch you. He grabs at you and swings you off to the side. He throws you off balance, and that's what your tag is unbalanced.
Unbalanced. Okay, cool.
And that is a mild tag.
Sweet. Okay.
What do you do?
I stagger back a few steps, and I realize that we both have scored a good hit.
Indeed.
I've seen your weaknesses, Hojin. You know that I'm a better fighter than you are. Stop now and promise never to bother my clan again, and you can walk away.
Are you acting dishonorably? The trigger for that is when you act in a threatening way to get what you want.
Well, it sounds like I am then. I've definitely fit the bill. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Roll plus hot.
I have rolled a 6, but plus 2 for hot makes it 8.
All right.
I would like to... Can I spend a chi for his singed tag?
Yeah.
You know, I'm threatening to hurt him.
Yeah, you're taking advantage. I definitely buy it. Yeah, you've caused him harm. You've shown him that you're capable of it. So yeah, if you want to bump that up to the 10 up.
I do.
And in that case, yeah, he needs to choose whether to give in or face your wrath. He looks at you for a moment. You can see the fear in his eyes as he looks at the fist that just disabled his arm. As he looks at the fire still glowing in your fingers. And he looks to the crowd around him, watching. And he seems more scared of them than he does of you. He sees the predatory look in their eyes to see this villain finally brought to heel, and he knows that he cannot lose here, and he summons a wave of fire around him. It engulfs him for a moment as he lifts into the air, great limbs of fire spreading out like wings behind him, as he looks down and speaks with a voice like a bonfire.
Ooh.
You may be powerful, but I will prevail. Come at me with the best you have, young Plussatar.
Oh, Jin, how dare you use the Fire Phoenix form! I'm gonna run up and throw a huge punch, just a straight punch, because I can withstand the flames. I'm gonna try to knock him out. Just jump up in the air and aim for his chin.
All right. Commit open violence.
Okay, here we go. Whew, that is an 8.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that makes it a 10 with your hot.
Yeah, it is. It is. Math.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a 10. Fantastic.
Yeah, so absolutely, yeah, you get to place a tag on him as you desire.
KO'd. Can I give him a tag of KO'd?
Down he goes. And as you watch as he falls to the ground and you move through the flames, and as he crumples to the ground in a heap, you look back and you see the fire phoenix he'd summoned doesn't disperse. It moves, it floats up into the air, and it circles once, spins, traces along the trail of the ring. The scorch marks around the edge of the arena ignite. They light up into a small little wall of flame before dying down as the phoenix soars off into the sky.
Oh, wow.
And the crowd begins to applaud as they move in to chain Hojin.
Oh, man, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, Plussatar bows to everyone, and then he helps them chain up Hojin and restore the honor of his clan.
Yeah?
Yes!
All right, and that seems like a decent point for a cut on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Max, thank you so much for coming on Plus One Forward and showing me Legend of the Elements and running me through a scene. I really had a great time. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you for having me. You've always been a really great supporter of the game, and I really appreciate it.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community and Richard Rogers. You can find us on gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at GauntletRPG. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and McGay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Arl Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko Metal version and Process. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Arl Hotbed on their website, savagearlhotbed.com.